Ready to go?
That's the third time.
Ladies and gentlemen, I see that we have a quorum. I call to order this Policy and Priority Committee meeting of May 16th. Any changes to the agenda as presented? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I see that the applicants for the commercial building facade improvement grant at 1507 Pelham Street are here, so 4.2. And I would ask and move that we consider that ahead of other business, the downtown master plan, et cetera. So I'd ask that that be moved on the agenda.
Okay.
Put that motion forward.
Okay.
So you move it to 4.1.
Yeah.
That's good, you don't need a second.
Oh, don't need a seconder. Okay, so we'll put this item to the top. And which one is that? This one?
So we're going to go back to the agenda
Okay.
and just realign the agenda
Yep.
and just ask for a vote on the amendment.
Okay, all right, now we ask for a vote?
Yeah.
So we'll have a vote on the amendment as presented.
All those in favor?
Oh, I'm tired today. All in favor? Okay, pass.
We'll help you.
Thank you. Okay,
Okay, now you're going to vote on the agenda as amended.
oh, so on the agenda as amended, all in favor? Okay, and we will proceed. Has been, oh, no, I'm going right. I just have to read this now, right? Oh, no, I'm done.
You're going to sign it.
Oh, fine, sorry.
I think there needs to be something there.
Okay.
Okay, so now you're going to go with this one.
Yeah, there should be something. So,
Okay, so it has been,
Moved by,
yeah, you can.
was that moved by Council?
moved by Councilor
Moved by Council Durley that the Community Planning and Development Department report for 1507 Pelham Street, file number CP 01-16, be,
Sorry, before you do that, can you just call for the disclosure?
Ah.
We can hear you just-
we forgot one little item. Anyone have any pecuniary interest to declare before we advance?
No, Mr. Chair.
No, Mr.
No,
Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, excellent,
Thank you.
thank you. Now we will proceed. Has been moved by Councillor Durley that the Community Planning and Development Department report for 1507 Pelham Street, file number CP-01-16, be received, and that Policies and Priorities Committee direct planning staff to prepare the grant agreement and bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to enter into a commercial building facade improvement grant on the amount of $17,147.38 for 1507 Pelham Street between the town of Pelham and Louis
Angeles.
DeAngelis. Okay, comments, anyone? Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to our Director of Planning. Madam Director, when I read this report, I find it somewhat confusing. It's my understanding that the region splits the total grant with the town. So if the approved grant is $17,147, that the town would be on the hook for half of that and the region would pay the balance. Is that the case, or is it that the applicant will in fact get $34,294?
Mr. Chair, through you, the region matches the town's grant.
So,
They would then get the 34,000. They qualify for the 17,000 under the town's program. And if the region has the funding available, they will match the town.
through you, Mr. Chair, as a follow, is this a new wrinkle to the policy? Because the grants that have come before this council in the past have not been managed that way.
This has been the policy that I know it to be. It's been that way. I understand that's how grants were managed in the past. I'd have to look into previous files just to confirm what the, the regional amount, but the regional funding is always contingent on their availability of funds. because they fund not just these programs in Pelham, but all across the region.
Thank you.
Well, I'm very familiar with one specific file, but I'm
you
duty
are.
bound by a conflict of interest to speak to it, so, but this is it's a new wrinkle as far as I'm concerned, but I'll leave it at that.
And we can certainly chat offline about it.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm very pleased to see this grant, and this is the intention of the grant, this application, sorry, and this is the intention of the facade improvement grant to help business owners, in this case, new business owners, trying to start a business, revitalize the downtown. It's all the intention, meets the criteria. Very, very pleased to support this, and very impressed with the drawings that were included. I would, my understanding is, as the director has stated, that it is on top of the region's grant, so no doubt the director will research that and get back to council at the next meeting. Maybe for clarity's sake, it would be helpful just, and maybe this is my fine-tooth comb coming out that the treasurer always accuses me of having, but it might be nice to have a little bit of a chart just to indicate here's the town's grant, the region's grant, the total, et cetera. It might help with clarity of the report, but other than that, I'm very, very supportive of this and very pleased that the application came forward and that we're able to assist. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any others? Councilman Rybak?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I too am pleased that this proposal has come forward. I just want to pick up on Councillor Kersey's issue. I too have a problem with recalling that previous applications were in effect doubled. I know that in one discussion we had that I was involved in briefly with someone looking to make an improvement in Fenwick, the discussion failed because there seemed to be a whole lot of work to do for very little money, and it seems to me if that money had been double the amount that we were talking about, it would probably have increased the degree of interest that there would have been at that time. So I'm just wondering whether through you we might get some clarification from staff, perhaps in a report later, even an email, where some of the projects that have been awarded the town's portion might be reviewed and it be confirmed that those were matched or not matched, just to give us that information. It seems to me that we've always talked in the past about half the cost up to a certain amount. This clearly means that the full amount up to a certain amount is going to be covered, not half, and it is different than my understanding to this point. So I would like clarity that the other projects were done correctly, or how, at least how they were handled.
To you, perhaps, Director? Thank you.
Certainly, Mr. Chair, through you, we will certainly get clarity and get that to you for the next council meeting.
Thank you. Councilman, oh, I'm sorry.
Just to follow up, if it is in fact the case that this applicant is eligible for that full amount, I'm extremely pleased for them. I'm sure that's going to produce an awful lot of good stuff. And subsequent to this proposal, I would expect to see a whole lot more because now we're talking, in some cases, some real money.
Councilman Zerlich?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too am very supportive of this. New businesses are great in town, and a new fresh look is there. My one concern is this building has been around for a long time. Are there any heritage features that need to be preserved? And this is something that has been hot topics in the past, and although the heritage thing is sort of on the back burner right now, but in case there is anything architecturally significant heritage-wise that needs to be preserved? If not, then there's no conditions, but if there is, certainly we should look to try and address these issues.
Madam Director?
Yes, Mr. Chair, through you, certainly there are some elements of the buildings and window openings are the original sized openings and stuff like that. So we've talked with the applicants about keeping those and reintroducing double hung windows where they make sense and where they're appropriate. Some of the large plate glass windows that were added and altered over the years, those are going to be remaining, but it's the second story windows that are important and they're certainly willing to accommodate those.
Thanks for the attention on that, and that certainly gives me more of a reason to support this. Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, Councilman McPherson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make sure that the applicant understands my position. My questions were not directed that I was not supportive of this. I've been involved with the CIP program since its inception as part of the beautification committee long before I got on council. And I'm thrilled to see new businesses come to town and for them to buy property in town and to develop that property to its utmost. And the changes that are proposed here are wonderful, and it will brighten that area up and add a whole lot to the streetscape. So thank you for that, and more power to you. If you get double the money, that's awesome too. It's always good to get the money back in town.
Absolutely.
If we can claw back regional money, let's take it.
Anyone else on this issue? Okay, we don't vote on this.
Yeah, you're gonna call the question.
Okay, so we will have a motion, a vote on this. All in favor? Okay, carries.
Carried.
Okay. Put forward by, motion by Councilor Durley, that the Community Planning and Development Department report for the Downtown Master Plan for Fenwick and Fawn Hill, December 2014, be received, and that council pass a resolution to approve the Downtown Master Plan for Fenwick and Fawn Hill, December 20th, 14th. Discussion, anyone? Go ahead, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Basically, just a comment. I'm very pleased to see this come forward. I think the document has a lot to offer, and it will provide guidance to our planning department as we move forward and to our developers as we move forward, so that we end up with the type of community that we envisioned when we embarked on the entire process. So I'm thrilled to see it come forward. I think it makes perfect sense not to encase it in the official plan and or the secondary plan and force applicant staff to go through a long drawn-out process. And it does give, in fact, our planning department and council the teeth that they need to ensure that the type of development that we want to see will happen.
Thank you. Anyone else? What, Councilman Durley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This has been a topic of discussion in the past, and I just want to bring it up again. The area that is encased by the downtown improvement area in Fenwick, it excludes probably the largest commercial building in Fenwick, and there's probably more than one there. And I'm just wondering that this could not be expanded to include, there are a minimum number of commercial properties in downtown Fenwick anyway, but there are a couple of properties that could benefit if in fact they were included in this CIP-wise, and I think it would improve the look of downtown Fenwick as well. So just wondering if that could be considered, or is it etched in stone by the boundaries that have been established so far?
Madam Director? Planning.
Mr. Chair, through you, the boundaries of the community improvement project areas are identified in our official plan, so to change those boundaries would require an official plan amendment. The guidelines do match that and apply to that, so that they give guidance to prospective redevelopment within those project areas. That's not to say, though, that we couldn't use the guidelines as examples of where we'd like to see or how we'd like to see development elsewhere occur. And certainly, we have good guidelines here about commercial development. Generally, we could have applied that a little bit more broadly, but the specific boundaries of the community improvement project areas are defined in our official plan.
So Just for clarity through you, Mr. Chair, if someone was located outside of this boundary, some consideration could be given to them if they were to apply, or is that out of the question?
For funding, under the community improvement
Yes.
programs, no, we would not be
Good,
able
okay.
to do that. No, it's very specific in our official plan as to what the limits are. But we could apply kind of the design guidelines in terms of redevelopment of a property outside of this area in a general nature. We would
Okay,
apply those.
thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, yeah, Councilman Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Madam Director, the CIP is a separate document. Could we not, I think it's coming up for a relook at anyway, could we not relook at that in terms of extending the boundary for the purposes of granting funding, provided they would follow the downtown guidelines? So we wouldn't have to do an amendment to the official plan, but we could amend the CIP document for the purpose of funding.
We'd have to look at that. There is a bylaw that adopted the CIP program, and that, yes, it is a separate standalone document, and it would need to be amended. And yes, it's, I think, targeted next year for review.
Right, right. So perhaps you could bring forward a report with respect to that, so that we could plan it, particularly for budgeting, et cetera. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. A couple of questions. So the report outlines sort of the process that was going on, and there was a couple of public meetings in a couple of years ago. And then there was another meeting. So there were public meetings, and then the document was changed, and then there was another meeting. And by my read of the report, Mr. Chair, basically the biggest feedback out of that subsequent meeting is that it should not be incorporated into the official plan. So I'm just looking for clarity from the director, whether that's the case, or were there other comments in that June 2014, where is it here? June 9th, 2014 public meeting that aren't captured under that.
Madam Director?
Mr. Chair, through you, no, there were no further comments that we received with respect to the design guidelines. So those earlier public submissions would have been made available to you in previous reports, and there was previous public consultation that had been undertaken. It was rather extensive from my understanding prior to my arrival here at the town.
It was, yeah.
And so the document has been, we've been using it, certainly staff have been using it and directing developers to it and using it in our review of development applications in the downtown. It was just felt that we need to really give it the status it needed by actually having council adopt it, and so that's why it's before you this evening.
Okay, thank you very much. A couple of other, I appreciate that answer, and a couple of other just sort of specifics to the document. The one piece that was, I think, added as a result of the public consultation at that time was the idea of, I don't know if it was a stream of color or whatever, something came up in terms of Camborough Road between the urban boundaries of Fonthill and Fenwick, and it does talk about that in the document. What does that mean, or what does that, it talks about proposed enhancements for Camborough Road. And it does have a lot to do with trees, which is great. So just wondering what, if we approve this, and I hope we do, what does that mean for that area along Camborough between the two urban areas?
Mr. Chair, through you. So a lot of that talks about public realm enhancements along Camborough Road. So if we were to do any capital works or capital projects along Camborough Road in the future, we'd look to this document with respect to tree planting, cycling paths and those kind of things. And certainly if there's private development along Camborough Road, any redevelopment of property, we would apply these guidelines to that.
Okay, great. So that it's, I'm pleased to hear that it's a holistic view. It's not just for the private, it's, it includes for the town too, and that would help make that seamless. The second question is regards to Regional Road 20, sort of from the historic downtown at Pelham Street down to Rice Road. So I know that the document incorporates the design guidelines and the vision on certainly the south side of Regional Road 20. And Councillor Kersey and I were here looking at one of the maps. Can't find the page right now. But it appears in one of them anyways, to include the north side. What page is this? Page 2. And it appears to include part of the north side. Is that in fact, or is that the Wild West, as somebody once called it? Or the Wild North, I guess. So the question is, in terms of that greater downtown area, does it include the north side of Regional Road 20?
Mr. Chair, through you, it does include part of the north side. It does extend part way down. It doesn't extend all the way to Rice Road.
That just doesn't, just in this area.
So just in, maybe you could somehow highlight that either now or at a subsequent point. So, for example, the former lumber yard, does it include that property, etc.?
Mr. Chair, through you, I don't believe the former lumber yard is included in this document.
No, it's the part that's fronting.
Okay. So yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's.
It looks under the one diagram that it does, and then on the other it doesn't.
This one here looks like it's there. Station Street.
Maybe that can be clarified
Maybe get
at
clarity
council,
on
Mr. Chair, or before council. If it's not included, should it be included? Like, not that specific property, but on the north side of Regional Road 20. I don't know if the director could comment on that, or maybe that's something she can answer at council.
Madam Director?
Yes, Mr. Chair, through you, I think I would like to go back and research the files in terms of all of that and come back to council with an update on that, if I may. There certainly is the design guidelines for the master plan design guidelines for the village of East Fonthill. That includes the south side of Highway 20, but again, I don't think that includes the north side. So let me get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it'd be helpful to know as council considers this. Thank you very much.
So then we'll ask for staff direction on this?
Someone will, if they want an amendment, someone will propose that amendment. Otherwise, it will be taken as staff direction to follow up before council.
Okay. So unless we can go two ways, someone can put forward an amendment to include the north side, or we'll have staff direction to come back with another report.
Mr. Chair, just to that, I'm fine with staff coming back to us at council with that. I'm
Okay.
fine with the motion as it is, personally. I don't know if colleagues are. I'd like, before we actually change it or not change it, we need to know whether it's in or not, or the reason it's not in.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, so, well, I'm sorry, Councilman Durlin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just similar to the question that I asked about Fenwick, I see the red line outline of the area, and it comes nowhere near Station Street. So if we can't change the one in Fenwick, how can we change the one here?
It's,
Through you, perhaps, to the director, like the line has been etched in stone, and it's incorporated in our OP, so if we can't change this unless we change the OP, as if, in fact, this is the same as the Fenwick situation.
In terms of it being the project area that would be benefit for funding under the community improvement plan, yes, it would be the same. In terms of it being an area where you just want to apply design guidelines to, I can take a look at whether or not we can broaden the scope of that.
Okay, so we're just looking at design guidelines, we're not looking at any other funding opportunities or that?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. That clears it up for me,
Yeah.
thank you.
Anyone else? Have anything? No? Okay, so we'll vote on the motion as it is. hoping that staff will come back before this goes to council with a little more clarity on it. So on the motion as it is, all in favor? Okay, any opposed? Okay, go. Okay, which one is that?
So you're at the Street Chicane.
Okay. Okay, motion by Mr. Councilman Papp. The committee directs staff to prepare a comprehensive report to be presented at the next regular meeting of council, outlining the traffic calming options available, including but not limited to alternatives to the chicane proposed for Hay Street North. Discussion. And I guess, oh, go ahead.
Well, I
Councilman
think
Papp.
it's self-explanatory that we've had a lot of the residents asking questions. The staff have been very good to go out there and explain to them the benefits and the disadvantages of the chicane. So I guess the question is, what other options do we have?
Okay.
In a nutshell, so that we can, I guess, put into place the type of traffic calming that is suitable for that area.
Thank you. And if I, go ahead, Councilor Kersey.
The only comment I would make, I mean, we've had a public meeting, we've approved it in the budget, we've given it, we did a trial balloon. It'd be interesting to get at least a verbal report from our Director of Public Works as to what the findings were at that public meeting and the feedback.
Yeah.
And do we in fact have to go back and was there such negativity that we have to go back and reconsider it? Or was it just a matter of giving them the information to the public and for the most part they were accepting of it? If that's the case, we've already done all of the study and all of the look-see, why don't we get on with it? So I'd be interested to get a verbal report at this point, and then let's make our decision how we deal with this other motion.
Just before she speaks, if I may add that I was probably the main person behind this, just because, excuse me, a friend of mine lived in Toronto, and they tried the chicanes in Toronto, in his neighborhood. It only lasted 2 or 3 years, and they did take that one down. I was under the impression that Toronto had tried several of them and had taken them down, but I don't know that for a fact. I just know of one that was tried. Now, whether they had, it was on a bus route, I don't know, but they ended up taking it down. So I guess I was just, with the negativity that we've had from the neighborhood, and the fact that if we could just make sure before we do begin, if there are other options, that was my intent on this. Madam Director, Public Works?
Through you, Mr. Chair. The response that we had was mixed. We had an open house. It wasn't officially public information. We invited the local residents to come and see the designs and to hear their voice. So the response was varied. Some people who had signed the original petition from 2011 asking that speeding be dealt with by the town were also people opposing the design of the chicane and opposing speed control measures. We did confirm that some were opposing that the town do anything, even though they had signed the petition. So we're trying to get clarification from talking to people at that public, or that open house. Generally, we had several families stating that, or couples stating that they felt speed humps were the obvious solution. Why wouldn't we have considered those? And we explained the concerns with emergency response and insurance claims and such. We explained that we went through, there are probably about 7 alternatives or traffic calming options that are used throughout North America. So we talked about that. We did get a copy of a unofficial petition that was circulating at the meeting with people saying that they felt that the chicane design was, I'm not going to remember the word, ill-advised. We've had positive response and people at the meeting also supporting it strongly, people with young children saying they can't cross comfortably with the kids, and we've had some email and letter correspondence since supporting the design. The main response that we had from the people that did give us criticism for the chicane design was about snow removal and how it would be maintained and how would it beautify the neighborhood. We were trying to make sure that they understood the chicane wouldn't look like the pilot. It wasn't going to be orange signs and flashing lights. But there, in the end, one of the residents said they just want a wide open road that they can see where they're going. They don't want to have to maneuver around things that would slow them down. So it's varied, and at this point, how we explained to them was that the budget had been approved, but the purpose of the meeting was to share information, and we've gone back and it hasn't been finished yet, because we've had some other capital projects, but we are looking at the design and the feedback we've had in relation to driveways and sightline concerns that came in. And we were also just going to create a summary document that showed the other options and why they were not considered.
Any other discussion? Councilman Idea.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would say just observe a couple of things. Number one, the most frequent issue that we hear about from our residents across the town is the speed of automobiles. And frankly, wherever we can institute anything that's effective in slowing down traffic, particularly in those areas that are probably most sensitive to it, would be of great help. So I would make that observation first, that this is a problem that exists everywhere, and if we can solve it anywhere, we ought to. That's number one. Number two, change is awfully difficult for people to accept, and even on the issue of speed, those who agree that traffic is too fast in Pelham generally also say, and everyone else should slow down, but I got to get to where I'm going as quickly as I can. So the fact of the matter is that I think that no matter how long this discussion takes, those two things are not going to change. Speed is going to be an issue, and there's going to be a reluctance to make a change. So I would be all for, indeed, reviewing the work that has been done up until now to reassure ourselves that the decision we made in the first place was a good one. But I would sure hate to see us slow down on instituting something that would be effective in at least one area in bringing traffic down to a level that it ought to be. So I'm not sure how I feel about a process that's going to take a lot of delay. I don't mind reviewing what we've done up until now, and it seems like there's quite a bit, and it could be readily available. So I'd be happy to see that, but I'm not sure that I'd be supportive of an entirely new study.
Okay. Yep. Anyone else? Oh, yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I would like to see the results of the study. I think we did receive a staff report before we consider the 2016 budget and put funding aside for that. So I hope that can be included. I think we used the word comprehensive in the resolution, so I'm sure that can be included there. My recollection is that it did dramatically reduce speeds, which was the concern of, I believe it was all residents in that stretch of the area. But I also believe that there is a little bit of time to this, and perhaps the director can give us a quick update on what the proposed timing is. She did state that they've been delayed on other things, but is this a spring project or a fall project, or maybe we can hear from the director.
Do you, Mr. Director?
Through you,
Yes,
Mr. Chair.
Madam Director.
The development on Haste that's currently underway for primary servicing, we were trying to time it so that the top coat that's also budgeted for this year for Haste of asphalt and the chicane would happen at the same time to minimize disruption, and preferably after those primary services are in. So would be a fall project that we were considering.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm, if council colleagues are looking for more information and look at other options, it sounds like we have that time to consider it. I am supportive of speed reductions in this area because we had such a huge outcry for folks in that area. And I think there's a few other areas that we can talk about as well. So I'm fine with the motion as it stands, Mr. Chair. I want to make sure that the original report comes back to us as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Councilman Rabiak?
Just, Mr. Chair, to see whether the motion mightn't contain a time limit so that we get it in plenty of time to proceed with the project as currently planned, should everything point in that direction. So I don't know,
What's it
You
say?
need an amendment
There
on
was,
that?
it's next meeting, right?
Next meeting.
does it require an amendment, but certainly perhaps for the next P&P meeting, a month?
Let's bring the summary result.
Mr. CEO?
It's council's preference, Mr. Chair. We can have it for the next meeting or at the next PNP meeting. It's up to council.
Yeah.
Okay, is that
Yeah,
fine with you?
quicker is better.
Okay. We all done? We'll vote on this then?
Can you read the motion again, Mr. Chair, please?
Make sure I got the right one, yes. That committee direct staff to prepare a comprehensive report to be presented at the next regular meeting of council, outlining the traffic calming options available, including but not limited to alternatives to the chicane proposed for Hayes Street North. So it looks like what we're asking staff to do is take one last look at this and have it back to us by the next PNP meeting,
Next regular council.
next regular council meeting.
So is it understood, Mr. Chair, that included in that motion, in that report, there would be the results of the public open house, the original report that Mr. Mayor spoke about, and I would like to see the final proposed design of the chicane, because it would be considerably different than what we saw on Hay Street and what people were considering. So I would like all of that rolled into one, and so we can deal with this.
Okay, Mr. CEO?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll take that as direction and we'll include that into the.
Thank you.
the report.
That takes care of it.
Is there going to be enough time to do all that? Get the final design and all that?
I'll help the director if I have to.
Oh, no.
Let's end the meeting early so you can go and do it now.
Any further discussion? Okay, so we'll vote on this motion as presented then. All in favor? Any opposed? Nope, okay, thank you very much. Carried. Okay, and so who did this? Mr. Rybiak. Yeah, Councilman Rybiak, motion that this regular meeting of Policy and Priorities Committee be adjourned until the next regular committee meeting scheduled for Monday, June 6th, 26th. Oh,
On a point of privilege, it's Councilor Ribiak.
right.
Ribiak.
Rubiak.
Rib.
Right, Ribiak?
Rip, as in Rip.
Ribiak.
Rip.
I'm, sorry, Ribiak.
But that's okay, he answers
Yeah.
anything.
Well, no, that'll be good for a few.
But a further comment, if I
Well, now I
may.
have to start all over again. As we
Before you
move,
do,
oh, I'm sorry.
thank you also on a point of order, and not my name. You can call me anything you want, as somebody suggested. But it is counselor, not councilman. We do have a gender-neutral title here.
Okay, you're right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll have to do my homework. Thank you. So it has been moved by Counselor Ribiak. There we go. That this regular meeting of Policy and Priorities Committee be adjourned until the next regular committee meeting scheduled for Monday, June 6, 2016, unless sooner called by the mayor. And, oh, do we have to vote on that? Oh, let's vote on that. All in favor? Okay, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Screw the vote, let's get out of here.
Oh, got it.